Good afternoon, Parsons parents, and welcome to the Georgia Milestones Parent Workshop. I'm Ms. Clark, Assistant Principal for grades 3, 4, and 5.
And I'm Stacy Gist, the Local School Technology Coordinator.
So in today's meeting, we're going to watch a brief little video of the Georgia Milestones online experience. We're going to discuss the promotion criteria for students in grades 3, 4, and 5. We're going to take a quick look at the Georgia Milestones testing schedule and what the test will look like. We're also going to show you some things that you can do to help your child at home to prepare for Georgia Milestones. There's some great resources not only on the Georgia DOE website but also on our Parsons website. And then Ms. Gist is going to take you through a live Georgia online experience for online testing. What is the purpose of Georgia Milestones? The Georgia Milestones assessment system is designed to provide information about how well students are mastering our AKS. Students in grades 3 and 4 will take English and language arts. Students in grade 5 will take English, language arts, math, science, and social studies. So in Gwinnett County Public Schools, we have a variety of assessment systems. We have our classroom-based assessments. These are the assessments that teachers give at the end of the unit. They're kind of little check-ins to see how students are performing on the standards. We also have our district assessments, which are called interims or DAs. These are given every 9 weeks, and they too measure the proficiency level of students on grade level standards. Georgia Milestones is a summative assessment. It is administered at the end of grade, at the end of 3rd grade, at the end of 4th grade, and at the end of 5th grade. And it measures the students' annual performance to see how they are performing on the grade level standards. This is a brief video to go over the importance of Georgia Milestones and its creation. Parents, we encourage you to visit the Georgia DOE website under Georgia Milestones Assessment System. When you scroll down, you will see a video link that says Georgia Milestones Assessment System. Please take time to watch this video on the purpose of why every student in the state of Georgia in grades 3, 4, and 5 will participate in this assessment. Gwinnett County Public Schools has promotion criteria for students in grades 3, 4, and 5. This has been presented to you at curriculum night and also at your parent-teacher conferences. Students in 3rd grade, to be promoted to 4th grade, will need to have a passing proficiency score on the Georgia Milestones in reading and vocabulary. If they do not pass this section of Georgia Milestones, they must have a 70 or higher average in reading. 4th grade students to be promoted to 5th grade need to have a 70 average or better in reading and math and possess the AKS knowledge and skills to be prepared for science and social studies. They do not have to pass the Georgia Milestones as 4th graders. In 5th grade, to be promoted to 6th grade, students must earn a proficient level in reading and vocabulary on the Georgia Milestones and also on the mathematics portion. If they do not pass a section of that, they need to carry a 70 average or higher in the corresponding courses to be promoted. Any student who does not meet this promotion criteria would be invited to attend summer school and offered a retake opportunity on the Georgia Milestones. There are 4 different achievement levels on the Georgia Milestones. We want our students to all be proficient or distinguished. But there are 4 levels. The beginning learner has not yet demonstrated proficiency of the AKS and would need remediation. Students at the developing level, sometimes referred to as level 2, demonstrate partial proficiency of the AKS, but not proficiency or distinguished level. Students that perform proficient or distinguished meet the criteria for promotion and mastery of the grade level academic knowledge and skills. As students are assessed on the Georgia Milestones, there are particular content weights. Some areas are weighted more heavily than others. For example, grade 3. When students take the English language arts, remember they must pass the reading and vocabulary to be promoted to 4th. The approximate percent of items would be 53% in that area. In mathematics, there's 4 different domains, the highest domain being numbers and operations at 35% and geometry 10%. So we know that our teachers in 3rd grade have really spent a lot of time on numbers and operations and measurement and data, since those 2 domains hold the most weight. In 4th grade, there's also different content weights. In English Language Arts, 53% is under reading and vocabulary. If you look down at math, there are 5 different domains for 4th graders, the highest one being numbers and operations and fractions at 30%. We also have 3 other domains that are equal at 20% each, operations and algebraic thinking, numbers and operations in base 10, and measurement and data. But they also need to know their geometry because it'll account for 10% of the test. Students in grade 5 will take the English Language Arts, Math, Science, and Social Studies content area assessments. They have different domains for each one and different percentages. English Language Arts is the same as in 3rd and 4th grade, the highest percentage being in reading and vocabulary, which is expected for their promotion requirement. In mathematics, they too have 5 different domains, with the highest one being in numbers and operations of fractions. But they also have science with 3 different domains. The highest weight is life science. Then it goes to physical science at 35% and earth science at 23%. For social studies, our highest weighted area is history at 58%. But students also need to know geography, government and civics, and economics because they count 12 to 15% of the total weight. The GMAS testing schedule is posted on the screen. All students need to be prepared for testing by being at school on time on the dates that their grade level is testing. Take a moment to look at where your student would be testing. If they're in 3rd grade, the dates are listed. Now, they're not consecutive days. You'll notice that 3rd grade will take ELA on April 10th, 11th, and 12th. Then they're going to have some days off, and they'll take math on April 18th and April 19th. 4th grade, take a look at their days. They're not even going to start testing until April 22nd. It'll continue April 23rd, 24th, and then they'll pick up math on April 29th and 30th. Our 5th graders are going to start off our testing for Georgia Milestones on Tuesday, April 9th. This is right when we come back from spring break. They're going to take Social Studies Section 1 and 2. Then they'll have a few days off, and then they're going to take ELA. And then they'll pick up math on April 25th and finish it up with science on May 1st. We will have some final makeup day, which will be May 2nd. So if your student's going to be out, please let their teacher know so that we can make arrangements for them to make up that section of the test. The GMAS administration times for each section. So in ELA, Section 1, students will have 70 minutes, but if they are actively engaged, they can work up to 90 minutes. ELA Section 2 and Section 3, students will get 60 minutes, but they can have up to 75 minutes for each section. In math, for Section 1, they'll get 60 minutes up to 85, and the same thing for Math Section 2. For the science sections for 5th graders, they will have 45 minutes for each section, or they can have up to 70. And that's the same time allotment for social studies. Many parents have asked, what will the online Georgia Milestones look like, and how will my student be able to read and use a keyboard to write their answers? Ms. Gist in just a few moments is going to take a deeper dive into the online tools, but we wanted to show you what a passage looks like. The students will be presented a passage, and they will have to go through pages. As you can see, this is page 1 of 3. As they go through the pages, at the end, they will be expected to look at a prompt and to answer the prompt. Note down at the bottom where it shows how many characters. The students can put up to 1,500 characters in this section in their response. But the big thing is we want them to be reading and making sure that they're answering the prompt appropriately. The Georgia Milestones also has selected response items, better known as multiple choice. Students will be presented a problem. They'll have to read through the question and they have to determine if A, B, C, or D is correct. Students will also be exposed to constructed response. Some constructed response are worth 2 points. Some, which have more demand on the student as a reader and a writer, will have 4 points. And then ELA Section 1 is a 7-point prompt, which has a bigger demand on the reader and the writer. Teachers have been using the rubrics that are used to score Georgia Milestones to support their students throughout the year on how to improve their writing when responding to a prompt. On a 2-point prompt, our goal is that students would earn all the points, 2 points total, by making sure that they have everything expected according to the rubric. Here's an example of a constructed response that's worth 4 points. So a 4-point rubric is used to score the student's writing. So once the students read the passage about Anna and Michael, they come to the prompt. They have to make sure that they understand the prompt and that they respond appropriately. In this particular prompt, it's asking them to write a conclusion to the story in which Anna and Michael go back up into the attic and see what else they can find. Be sure to include what they say to each other and descriptions of how the attic look. So this is important that students know how to take apart the prompt and respond to it so that they make sure that they get all 4 points. Teachers have been working with students to make sure that they know how to understand and respond to a prompt appropriately. Reading and analyzing the prompt is a skill that they will need to be proficient at in order to be successful on the Georgia Milestones. If we look at our prompt, write a conclusion to the story in which Anna and Michael go back to the attic to see what else they can find. If we are guiding students to take apart this prompt, we ask 4 very important questions. The first one, what form of writing does the prompt ask for? Well, I know that this is a narrative because Anna and Michael are fictional characters about a story of them being in their attic. How can I tell? Because the story tells me that. What is the purpose of the assignment? Well, it's asking me to write a conclusion. That means I need to write an ending to the story. What other information do I need to complete this task? Well, it tells me in the prompt that I have to include what they say to each other. That means that Anna and Michael are going to have dialogue with quotation marks where they talk back and forth. And I also have to include descriptions of how the attic looks. So in order to get all 4 points, I'm going to have to write an ending to the story where Anna and Michael go back up into the attic. They talk to each other with dialogue using quotation marks, but I also have to make sure that I describe what the attic looks like. If I do all these things, I would earn 4 points. This is an example of a selected response under the Math section of Georgia Milestones. Students, as you can see, will have the toolbar up across the top to support them with the online tools. When students come to a problem, they want to make sure that they read it through and that they understand what it's asking. With the selected response, the students will click either A, B, C, or D. They will have scratch paper to work out their answers. This is an example of a constructed response for math. Students will be presented a problem. Notice that they have Part A and Part B that they have to respond to. They will also have an opportunity to build an equation. The EQ is an equation builder that allows them to use online tools. Ms. Gist is going to show you more information about the equation builder in just a moment.
We encourage parents to visit the Georgia Department of Education website. They have many helpful parent resources there. You could type this web address in, or you could, and it will take you directly to this information, or once you're on the Georgia Department of Education website, you could click on Learning and Curriculum and then locate the Georgia Milestone Assessment System. On the Parsons website, you will find some resources for GMAS. If you scroll to the bottom of our website, you'll see the scrolling news feed, and one of the slides is about GMAS. And on this slide, you will find all kinds of helpful information. There's actually a link to the Georgia Department of Education website right here with the GMAS information that we just talked about. You also have the Experience Online Testing link here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like. Once you click on that, you'll want to go to Test Practice. And here your child will, and yourself, you will also be able to experience what it will be like for your child to take this. Your child can do this at home or with you, or you could try it out without them, and they can do it as many times as they would like. So you'll go to the End of Grade EOG Spring Main. You'll click on Online Tools Training. And once you get here, you're going to click on EOG Test Practice. You'll choose Standard Online Tools, and you'll choose grades 3 through 5. Now, if you happen to have a middle schooler, you could try out the middle school test questions here too. But I'm going to go ahead and click on 3 through 5. And once this loads, you'll be given a username and password box that you have to input. You'll see that right here is the information for you. So you'll type in your Georgia 35, and then you'll put training. Once you get here, you'll get a welcome screen, and you'll hit the continue button, and you'll choose the grades 3 through 5 practice test. So here you'll see directions that the students will see when they log on to take the test. And I'm going to go ahead and click through these directions. But when you take this yourself, you'll want to actually maybe read what each of these things are and what the tools do. All right, so as we get to the beginning of the test, they'll get this Begin Test button. And here's how the test is laid out. You've got the passage to your left and the responses to your right. Now, we were talking earlier about the page numbers, and you'll notice if I click the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen, that my pages will flip back and forth. You'll also notice that at the top you have the tools that your child will have. And you also have the question guide where you can click and go to a specific question. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to that question 1. And this first tool is the pointer. And the pointer is what they'll use to select their answers. And you'll notice that this question, you can only select one answer. So you can click on it and unclick, or you can change your answer just by clicking a new one. The next tool is the cross-off. The cross-off allows them to eliminate questions or answer choices that they don't like. Now, they can leave these cross-offs on their test. These cross-offs are not graded or scored, so it's okay if they leave them. They just do have to remember to go back and select the pointer and choose their correct answer, because if they leave it blank, it won't be scored. It will be scored against them. The next tool that you'll see is the highlighting tool. The highlighting tool, if I click Use Highlighter, allows me to highlight certain things on the passage. If I want to switch pages, I need to go back to the pointer and then go to the page I want and then turn back on the highlighting tool. Now, to clear highlighting, you can just go back over top of it, or if you want to clear all of your highlighting, you would click on the highlighting tool and say Clear All. The next tool that's available is the sticky note. If I would like to add a sticky note, for example, maybe if I've read a section and I want to do a quick summary to remind me of what that maybe paragraph was about, I could say New Sticky, and you'll notice nothing happens. But once I click here, it puts a little number 1, because wherever you click is where the Post-it will go. So I'm just going to type the words hi, just for lack of time, and I'm going to exit out of my Post-it. You notice the Post-it goes away, but the little number 1 is still there, indicating that that is where I put my first Post-it. If I double click on it, it opens up and I can use it again. If I click the trash can, it goes away. I can add as many stickies as I would like as I go through the passage. Now, just so you're aware, your child will have scratch paper, so if you feel or they feel more comfortable writing their notes on scratch paper, they can do that too instead of using the sticky. The next tool we have is the magnifier. The magnifier just allows students to make the items bigger or smaller. So if I click there, I'm magnified. If I go back and turn it off, I'm smaller again. Earlier when Ms. Clark was alluding to the checklist, you'll notice that within question 5, there is a writer's checklist that they can use to check to make sure that their writing has all the components that it should so that they get all the points that they need. So here is where they respond. How I got to the checklist is clicking enlarge, and notice I'm moving it around the screen so I can get it out of my way. As I scroll down, you'll also notice something that Ms. Clark pointed out earlier, that in this area, I am able to use, what is that? It's a small number, 30,000 characters. So this would require a much more lengthy response of the students instead of one that was only 1,500 characters. Here's a question, this is question 8, that has 2 parts, but notice that the parts are on separate pages. So here's part 1, and then here would be part 2. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is this line guide. The line guide is another tool available so that when students are reading, this helps them track where they are when they are reading. So all they have to do is drag that line guide up and down, and it helps them keep track of where they're at. And you'll notice I can also drag it across the screen, and it will help me read the right side of my screen and drag it back for that. Now, if I want to turn the page, notice I can still keep my line guide there and then restart my line guide. And here is question 11. Question 11 is the equation builder question that Ms. Clark was referring to. If I click on EQ, this opens up my equation builder. And let's say I just wanted to type the equation 3, and then I use my plus sign, 2, and my equal sign, and we'll just go with 5. And then I click OK. This allows me to build my equation, but it also allows me then to type my response to the question in the box. And again, this is 2 parts, so I'd have to come down and I'd have to also build the equation here and then respond in the text box. Here's an example of a question that requires 2 answer choices. So you'll notice as I click, I can select 2. However, if I try to select 3, it tells me that my maximum selections have been reached. So they will actually have to go and unclick one and then click another. Here's an example of a drag and drop type problem where students will have to drag different shapes up to answer the questions. Notice that you can then drag them back down. Question 17 is a bar graph question. You'll notice that I can shade in the bar graph and unshade just by clicking below. If they try to click here in this section, it won't allow them. You have to be in kind of the middle of the 2 bars to be able to create your bar graph. Notice there's this eraser. It resets the whole thing. And throughout the test, you've noticed this question mark. This is the help menu that students can click on at any point throughout the test, and it will answer maybe test direction. They can go back and see the test directions. It might give you those tools again and how you use them. And then to exit the help button, you would just click the red X. So when your students get to the last question, it will take, and they finish the last question, it will take them to like a review screen. And you'll see that the check mark says that I have answered that question. If it's empty, I've not answered it. And then along the way, if I've flagged any questions, then it will allow me to see which ones I've flagged. So I'm going to go ahead and return to the questions. I'm going to pretend that question 29, I didn't know. So I'm going to flag that because I want more time to come back to that because I'm really not sure of that answer. So once I hit the review and end my test, you'll notice now that that flag button appears, and I can click on that and it will take me right back to that question so I can answer it. So now that you had a chance to see the online practice test, we're going to come back to the Georgia Department of Education website, and I'm going to go to the Learning and Curriculum, and then I'm going to Georgia Milestones Assessment System. And you'll notice here is all the information that we talked about earlier. Here if you scroll down, there's that video we were talking about, but this is the parent resource section. And in the parent resource section, we're going to click on the Georgia Milestones EOG Study Resource Guides. This will have questions that you and your child can work through and go through that are grade level specific. So if you have a third grade student, if you click on grade 3, you will be given example questions that you and your child can work through. This is a 130-page document with all types of questions that will help your child. So again, if your child is in 3rd grade, you'll click here, 4th grade here, and 5th grade here, and you'll get those questions that you and your child can work through.
Parents, we want to thank you for joining us today for the Georgia Milestones Parent Workshop screencast. If you have any questions, please contact me, Laura Clark, Assistant Principal and Testing Coordinator here at Parsons, and Stacy Gist, our Local School Technology Coordinator, if you have any of the online experience questions. I want to encourage you again to try those 2 important resources. One, the Georgia Online Experience, which will give students the online tool practice, and also the DOE has the Parent Study Guide and resources for each grade level. That will provide students with the exact problems, not the exact problems, but problems that they might come across on the actual Georgia Milestones test.